6 p.m. in Jindom, that is in Dengui Subdivision, Momo Division, Northwest Region of Cameroon. Same time right here in Akwadwala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 6 p.m. edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. First, our major stories. Blood continues to spill within the context of the over 7-year-old armed conflict in Anglophone Cameroon. 2 civilians have died with another in a critical condition for the detonation of an improvised explosive device in Oum Village, Batibo Subdivision, Momo Division, Northwest Region of Cameroon. Meantime, a former Indomitable Lions player, Landri, Gimo, alongside his driver, died in an accident recorded in Gomo, a village found in a Bamenda, that is in the central region of Cameroon. The former defensive midfielder who left Bafoussam for Yaoundé got crushed by a truck. Circumstances that led to their deaths will be revealed in this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for always choosing Equinoxe Television. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. 2 persons have died and 1 other severely injured following the detonation of an explosive device in Oum Village, Batibo Subdivision of the Momo Division in the conflict Northwest Region. The vehicle drove on an improvised explosive device planted along the Bamenda Highway at about 4 p.m. Wednesday, June 26, 2024, as Fomi Armstrong Sander tells us.
The 3 victims, all members of the same family, were on board a Corolla 100 type vehicle returning from their cocoa farm in Kendem, Batibo Subdivision in the Momo Division of the Northwest Region of Cameroon when they got attacked. On the Batibo Bali stretch of the Bamenda Highway, their vehicle stepped and exploded on an improvised explosive device, leaving 2 persons dead and 1 other severely wounded, precisely at Oum Village.
This is the whole of the explosive. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Oh God.
Here in the scene of the incident, the car is shattered beyond recognition. Particles of the vehicle could be seen in different directions when the device detonated.
This is the top of the car here. Oh Lord. Jesus Christ.
The lifeless bodies of the 2 who died were also dismembered beyond recognition by the powerful improvised explosive device.
Oh Lord God. Somebody can come out of this car in the world.
The lone survivor on his part was rescued by officials of the Rapid Intervention Battalion, the B, who after administering first aid, transported him to a hospital facility. The driver, a certain Fomonyo Charles, is one of the 2 who died. Allegedly planted by separatist fighters, local sources say that the explosive device targeted a military truck which was driving directly behind the civilian Toyota Corolla 100 type vehicle when the incident occurred. Batibo has been the scene of diverse forms of attacks and killings since the escalation of the now 8-year armed conflict in the Anglophone Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon. Last year, 2 civilians got publicly executed at the Guzan Market Square, still of Batibo Subdivision.
A terrible situation there from Batibo. And now we talk something else. Former Indomitable Lions player Landri Gimo dies after being involved in a fatal road accident in a village known as Gomo on the National Road number 4 linking Yaoundé and Bafoussam. Our sources reveal that the accident occurred after his vehicle collided with a truck while trying to overtake a Mercedes vehicle. Gimo, a defensive midfielder, was a key player as he represented the country at 2 FIFA World Cups in 2010 and 2014. He was also part of the team that won the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations. His death has left his family members, teammates and fans in despair. We'll leave that to take you now to Kumba, where structures accommodating drug consumers, precisely in Kumba 2 southwest region, have been destroyed. The destruction exercise comes less than a week after some Muslim women carried out a similar exercise, vandalizing the hideout of drug addicts. The women say they are fed up of all the atrocities committed by the drug addicts in their area. Asia Luciliengu reports.
Women in the Kumba 2 subdivision once more stormed the streets. They are denouncing the continuous consumption of hard drugs by youth and the sale of these illegal drugs, which keeps gaining grounds.
So I think they still go back. They still go back today. So now I don't come out today with vex. It is too much. We are tired. The women are all sick of these drugs dealers and drug sellers or whatever they call them. We have decided that this time around we will not let them go free. It is too much.
This comes a week after some Muslim women vandalized houses accommodating hard drug consumers in the Kumba 2 subdivision. Moving from one neighborhood to another, raising their voices, the women decry the atrocities carried out by individuals who consume narcotics.
We are not afraid of any drug sellers. Yeah. We are not afraid of them. We have decided that they will go. That they will go. So all women must sit up. Yeah. All women must sit up.
The women, assisted by some youth, set ablaze houses, makeshift structures where the alleged drug users settled. Those who tried to intimidate them or stop them from carrying out their protest were warned. Calling on the population to desist from the activity, women of the Kumba 2 subdivision say they will fight the sale and consumption of the dangerous drugs till their last breath.
Asia Luciliengu reporting there. The coming of the rains once again exposes the very bad state of roads in the city of Douala. A case in point is a Pika-Katol stretch in the Douala 5 subdivision, which is now filled with potholes, making movement very difficult for road users. Our reporter Malaglari takes us to the Pika-Katol's neighborhood to show us the deplorable state of the roads there.
Muddy and flat-filled potholes is the state of the road passing through Pika-Katol's market, Douala 5. Road users recount their ordeal. This biker says they get sick every evening after work and also have to spend much money repairing their damaged bikes. Another says they sometimes fall in the mud with passengers. Plying on this road is a difficult situation to the inhabitants who says in order to lessen their suffering, the youths of the neighborhood have mobilized efforts to repair the road. One of the workers says that the inhabitants suffer on this road daily. And the other adds that it is because of these that they have decided to work on the road in order to give a better face to the neighborhood. Efforts which are not enough, according to road users, to end their pain. They therefore plead with the authorities to intervene.
On to other news, Douala and Yaoundé are among the 15 most expensive cities in Africa. These statistics were revealed by the American human resource consulting firm Mercer. High cost of living and the very difficult living conditions of the population are some of the aspects raised. Our reporter Sergi Chakutio read through the document and came up with this report for the 6 p.m. news.
On a scale of 43, Douala is ranked 7th among the most expensive cities in Africa in 2024. According to the annual report given by the American human resource consulting firm Mercer on the cost of living, the economic capital of Cameroon climbs 18 levels in 2024 to position itself at the 63rd position in the world out of 226 countries. The Messer Cabinet ranking criteria is based on the comparative cost of more than 200 items in each city, including housing, transportation, nutrition, entertainment, among others. The high cost of living is a major problem that concerns Cameroonians. Despite the country's natural wealth and economic potential, many factors contribute to the increase in prices and the difficult access to essential goods and services. Also, to some Cameroonians, the devaluation of the CFA francs, the currency used in Cameroon, and the increase in price of fuel has also had an impact in the purchasing power of citizens, making imports more expensive and leading to an increase in prices on the domestic market.
La vie coûte trop cher au Cameroun. Tellement cher qu'on dirait qu'on exporte ces marchandises, alors que tout ça sort dans notre propre pays, au point où on nourrit même d'autres pays avec. Mais nous-mêmes, on n'arrive pas à manger. La base des prix chers, c'est le carburant. Tout ce qu'on va chanter, tout ce qu'on va dire, c'est le carburant.
À partir d'aujourd'hui, là, c'est très compliqué faire les achats au marché. On fait les achats juste parce qu'on a faim. S'il fallait choisir, je n'allais plus faire le marché. Extrêmement cher. Tout est devenu cher sur le marché. Même le piment qu'on prenait un paquet à 100 francs, on compte maintenant.
Imaginez, il paye jamais 30 000. Quand il fait mon revenu, moi, il est dans à peine 70 000. Quand on voit qu'il paye l'eau et la lumière, je demande ça, c'est 30 000. Pourquoi il trouve un appartement 40 000 à 45 000, quand il gagne moins de 70 000, il m'en sort pas.
Yaoundé, which also appears in the ranking, occupies the 11th continental rank in Africa. According to experts, the high cost of living in Cameroon constitutes a major challenge for the country's citizens and economy.
The UK-Cameroon Chamber of Commerce is breaking new grounds to increase the volume of trade between the two nations. A business guide has been launched to ease and step up foreign investment in Cameroon. It was launched during the General Assembly of the Chamber in Douala. Babla Jonathan tells us more.
Trade between Cameroon and the United Kingdom has been growing over the years. Latest statistics on trade between the two nations on the UK Department of Business and Trade fact sheet show a total of trade in goods and services of 1.0 billion euros, that is close to 800 billion francs CFA last year.
This partnership is developing. Last year it increased by over 22% to £1 billion. And that partnership is good.
To promote trade between Cameroon and the United Kingdom and Great Britain and Northern Ireland, a business guide has been established by the UK-Cameroon Chamber of Commerce.
The business guide is an important document, a comprehensive document that tells you how to do business in Cameroon. What are the tax rules? What are the customs rules? What is there to say about the judiciary? What does the law say? The investment promotion agency, everything. So the guide that we're launching today tells you everything that you need to know about it. Not only for UK, for investors from the UK, but for the wider investment community.
The British High Commissioner to Cameroon says his country is supporting Cameroon in a development and industrialization drive.
At Promote this year, we supported over 200 women entrepreneurs, and it was really exciting to see their energy and their ambition. So I look forward to the realization of that potential.
He highlights Cameroon's economic potentials, including a well-educated population, wealth in natural resources, and a young and vibrant community of entrepreneurs that should be well exploited for the growth and well-being of the nation and our people.
And now we talk sports. 2 times Cameroon gold medalist in the triple jump event at the Olympic Games has criticized the government for neglecting sports icon in Cameroon. Francois Bango-Etone, who was speaking to a French media outlet, made a declaration at the time or at the end of the 23rd edition of the Senior African Athletics Championship that took place in Cameroon. For Francois Bango, the result obtained by Cameroon wasn't good. She, however, is positive about the next game that will take place in France. Sportsman's Magic and Gabriel gives us details.
The 23rd edition of the Senior African Athletics Championship is now history, as the event that brought together about 2,500 athletes representing 54 countries came to an end Wednesday. The competition was heavily criticized by many onlookers. Cameroon's two-time Olympic gold medalist François Mbango gives reasons for the flaws. It failed because the organizers were not the same. It's a shame that, like an icon, the Athletics Federation has pushed me aside in all aspects, and it's disappointing. You have a double Olympics gold medalist who is not intervening in any sports-related issues in Cameroon, who is considered as nobody. It was an occasion for François Mbango Etone to decry the poor treatment given to athletes who had represented Cameroon honorably in international events. I really feel bad that athletes who represented the country outside and returned with exceptional results have been abandoned, as they are not integrated, participate or contribute to the growth of sports in Cameroon. Host nation Cameroon ended the competition with 5 medals, 1 silver and 4 bronze, better than their participation in the 23rd edition at the Mauritius Island, while South Africa was the best nation in Cameroon. Up next is the Olympic Games in Paris, France.
And that sports element ends this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. My guest tonight is a journalist. He's known as Tashe Njela Jetta Richard Tonga. Hello, Jetta Richard. You came all the way from Bamenda. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
Greetings to you, Immaculate Fogwe, and a very special greetings to all viewers of Equinoxe television. Thanks for having me as your guest.
Bamenda has unusually been tense. Lately, with controversial attacks on taxis, people out of Bamenda are finding it hard to really understand what's happening. What is the situation on the ground?
Well, you know, the northwest and southwest region of Cameroon have been in crisis for the past 8 years, and administrators have kept taking measures together with the population to uplift the living condition of the population, and especially improved upon the security. And in as much as that is being done, on the other side, the separatist fighters are also increasing in their tactics to keep their relevance on the population. So in this light, some few months back, it was a decision taken by the administration, of Mezam to stop bike riders from, parading the streets of Mezam between the hours of 6:30 p.m. and of course 6 a.m. in the morning. And the reasons given by this, the reasons given by the administrators on this decision was to, limit the acts of kidnappings and insecurity that was perpetrated on the population. As per the administration, they actually thought that with bike riders facilitate this. And on the other hand, the separatists said that if bikes have to stop circulating at this time, then they would also not allow transport vehicles like taxis, to circulate within this period. So it brought this commotion between the administration and, of course, the separatists. But in this context, the population have been paying the price, because this brought a lot of, hardship on the population. The taxi drivers, the bike riders, they have income that they make from plying the town with already a time that is very limited, mindful of the fact that the crisis have ravaged the region for all this while. So most of those who do bike riding and taxi businesses, they are just small income earners coupled with the very bad roads. They are struggling, to catch up with the very difficult economy, and they thought this time reduction was not the best. That is on both sides, the administration and of course the separatists. They thought both decisions were not beneficial to the population.
Yeah, away from the already reported burning of taxis and motorbikes, let's look at the common man on the streets, which is to some extent their suffering has been ignored. You being in Bamenda, you have watched how challenging it is. Can you narrate to us some of the ordeals faced by the Bamenda people?
Well, let me just take, for example, a pregnant woman who is suffering labor in the night around midnight and needs to move to a medical facility to deliver. And such a lady perhaps would not have a bike, she wouldn't have a taxi, and if the neighborhood people do not have cars, what happens? Let's even assume that there are cars and no car is supposed to circulate at that time, no bike is supposed to circulate, and this lady has to move to the medical facility. Well, in some cases, an ambulance could pick up a lady, but this depends on if those in the neighborhood have the contact of the ambulance. And you know, the network situation is fluctuating. You could be calling at the time when the ambulance is there, the driver is there, but the network is not there, and this lady needs to deliver. How do you move the lady, you know, to the hospital facility? This is just an example. And secondly, just for example, say there is already a lady who is pregnant and in the hospital about to deliver, and her case requires emergency. A medical doctor needs to move from his residence to the hospital at that time, perhaps to join the team of doctors who are there. What happens? You know that he cannot move to the medical facility. These are some of the practical examples and the difficulties that you know, the population are really faced with. Babies, a lot of kids get hot in the night. Sometimes their temperature go above 40. With malaria, that is occurrence. What do you do with this type of children? So it's a whole ball game that puts a lot of people in difficulties. And Immaculate, let me just let you know that there are also people who work only in the night, like those who are working in the bakery, those who are pharmacists who have to serve on pharmacy on call, others who perhaps need to go get fresh vegetable to put on the market space very early in the morning, like Bayam Selams. All of them basically do their job in the night, you know, between the hours of 6 in the evening and 6 in the morning. Most people work during this period, and just imagine that they cannot move because bikes are not available, taxis are not available. Just imagine their challenges. So it's putting the population in real difficulties, and with increased prices, the economy is not the best. It's really a battered situation. The population is desperate. So this is just an example of some of the challenges that people go through. I don't want to get to old aging persons who sometimes may develop some, you know, medical complications in the night, and they need to evacuate them to the hospital. Somebody may die somewhere and they need to pick the corpse to the mortuary. All of that is really, really very difficult. This is about the economy and the health, you know, sector. There are other sectors that I may not want to dwell in, but just to take this very pathetic example, I think it's quite devastating on the population.
From your analysis, it's quite clear that the situation over there is quite difficult for the population. Now, what's the state of the mind of taxi drivers in the Northwest region? Are they ready to change their taxi colors from yellow to blue to white, to blue and white?
Yes, you know, there are a lot of, there are audios that some separatist fighters actually brought out to be very categorical on the fact that taxis in Bamenda Mezam particularly should have the colors of their dream country, you know, and which is Ambazonia, as what they want. And of course, the government, you know, has its position on the fact that such cannot happen in the region. So this is putting taxi drivers, in conflict. But one thing that is even very beautiful about the crisis now in the Northwest is the fact that there is a lot of communication now that is flowing, whether be it with government and the masses or the separatists and the masses. There's a lot of communication now to improve, where people can take a position and say, no, this one is anti-population, and people talk about that this decision will not be the best, it's good to go this way. About 3, 4, 5 years ago, anything that is said was like a homily, nobody argued. But today, people have opinions. Sometimes this opinion change position. So in the context we have in the Northwest region now, particularly Bamenda, there's a lot of communication on that aspect of taxes and, the positions taken, and people are trying to get every other person reason on the fact that this is actually, an aspect that has an impact on the population that is not positive. So communication is constant. There is a very good volume of communication with all the stakeholders so that some quality and good decisions are taken to save the population from being on the arms race of a conflict which they themselves are just like a second victim to it.
As a media professional, how has it been like working in this conflict-hit zone? What are some of the challenges you have been facing as a result of your job?
And a journalist is supposed to get to source when there's an information, to be very sure that the information you are giving to the population is true. And with that, you need mobility. When there is insecurity, when there is no mobility, you can't move from one place to another. You may, as a very bad journalist, depend on hearsay. How do you educate the population or inform the population with such information? On the other hand, as a journalist, you need to verify the information, give information to the masses so they could make informed choices. And in all of this, you can't move. Something happens up perhaps at my one up station and I'm living in Damokong Street or in my 3. I need to go there to find out what has happened, to report to the population, maybe help them to take informed, decisions so that we preempt such occurrence in another area. But you cannot move. So you start following WhatsApps, to see what social media journalists are putting without verification, because you need to collect, you need to trade, and of course disseminate information. You can't do that if you do not move. So as a journalist, it's also very cumbersome. It's really cumbersome. There are a lot of things that are underreported by journalists because of mobility, especially in the context of this conflict between the administration and the separatists on bikes and taxis. It's really just putting the population. Everything puts the population at risk in all.
The Northwest region has always been outstanding in terms of culture. The people are deeply attached to their cultural values. Several festivals got suspended as a result of the ongoing crisis. A lot of people are now very scared to visit their villages. How is it back home? Any improvement as far as social gatherings are concerned?
Yes, a way of life of the people, the customs and the tradition is just a part of a people. Culturally, people will still eat their traditional meals, people will still dress in their togos, people will still do traditional marriages despite the conflict. And of course, the point is the very huge gatherings that we've been having in the past in the Northwest region, especially in villages with annual dance like the Lela, like the Ngonso, like, the Abendefo in Bafut. And of course, you want to call Ndila Festival and all the like. It's not actually having the effervescent again, because most often in the past, people traveled from other towns like Douala, Yaoundé, from abroad to come back to the village and meet those in the village in that euphoria. That notwithstanding, this has to do with the public manifestation, but as far as the customs of the people are concerned, our fondoms are still there, despite the fact that some are hit Others are still there. Our women are still getting married. They still eat their traditional meals. People still have their small Jangin meetings, and they still teach their children, you know, their languages. And of course, it's a very strong bond. This is even the first component of Anglo-Saxon culture. That is our cultural potentials, our customs and tradition is imbued in us, and irrespective of all what is happening, people are still glued to this. So the customs and the tradition are still there intact. It's just the public manifestations that have been limited due to the violence, and it's the tourism sector that used to be attached to these cultural manifestations and customs have been battered. So income is limited, and of course, you know, it has its impact on that component, but the people still live, you know, their realities as a Northwest people. Now,
Tashe Jela Jato Richard, journalist based in Bamenda, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And that's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for always being with us. Take the rendezvous tomorrow, same time, same hour, God willing. Stay in the company of more interesting programs. Up next is Equinoxe presented by Serge Alain Otto.